Welcome to Keeping Score. I'm Rick Horrow. Each week we bring you insights from the playmakers, deal makers, and rule makers in the world of sports. I'll give you my take on some of the items of the week using my 30 years of experience doing deals for teams, leagues, and players in the $750 billion business of sports. Plus, we'll talk with a central figure in the sports world. The views expressed in this podcast are my own and do not represent the views of Reuters. Let's get started. The Major League Baseball season may be months away, but excitement is already buzzing around Wrigleyville, where the Chicago Cubs play. The curse of the Billy Goat, spanning 108 years so far, looks like it may be coming to an end this season. The Cubs came up short after a stellar 2015 campaign, but have the talent, payroll, and management to make a deeper push come spring. Odds makers have the Cubs sitting at 7-2 odds of winning the National League pennant and 7-1 odds of winning the 2016 World Series, according to VegasInsider.com. As the countdown to UEFA's Euro 2016 continues, France has flown largely under the radar because the host country has run into few problems. So many FIFA events have come under scrutiny, including World Cup in Brazil, Russia, and Qatar, while Sepp Blatter has not gone down quietly. So, the international soccer community is pleasantly surprised to see France prepare to host such a large-scale event without any major issues. Sports Business Daily reports all 10 stadiums in the mix for the event, which starts in June, are on schedule, with no problematic infrastructure delays or logistical challenges. The tournament has been hailed by UEFA as, quote, the catalyst for a massive modernization program that will allow France to develop a new generation of sports facilities. The new year's going to be full of esports experimentation for Turner Broadcasting and WME-IMG. We told you last year the two teamed up to form an esports league, convinced that this largely untapped market is ready for prime-time TV. Esports are organized multiplayer video game competitions. Sports Business Daily says TBS is set to broadcast 20 live esports events over the course of 2016. And Lenny Daniels, Turner Sports president, calls the participants athletes and adds, quote, it's competitive and it requires endurance. What hasn't happened is that esports hasn't been exposed to a mainstream audience. Now, with about 30 days until Super Bowl 50, we talk with the man heading the host committee for the NFL championship game, Keith Bruce.
You were named CEO of Super Bowl 50 host committee. How did that feel on that day?
It was an honor to be named as the CEO of the host committee, knowing what a milestone Super Bowl 50 was going to be for the NFL, but also for the Bay Area. You know, we haven't hosted a Super Bowl in over 30 years, so knowing that it was going to be an incredible celebration, a great opportunity for the Bay Area to show themselves off to the world and to deliver, as you said, a golden anniversary Super Bowl 50 for the NFL. So it was a big day and the start of a 2.5-year journey to deliver the game that's going to be happening here pretty shortly.
Omnicom Companies, Sportsmark Management Group, Olympic Games, Super Bowls before, FIFA World Cup, NCAA Final Four. You've got extensive 25 years of on-the-ground experience and expertise for this. But what specifically, in your mind, qualifies you to lead this effort?
Yeah, well, you know, Rick, I think it's a couple things. When the bid committee was doing a search for a CEO, they made it pretty clear that they were looking for someone who had big global event operations experience, understood the commercial side because we were going to have to create a sponsorship model and raise money through corporate sponsorships, understood what was important to broadcasters who were going to be setting foot here in the Bay Area, understood the operations, the logistics, and all the protocol involved in producing a big event like that. And I think that level of experience, there's just not a lot of folks, around that have that. And the fact that I was also living in the Bay Area and had been a Bay Area resident for over 20 years, that was another kind of qualifying credential. Was they wanted someone who was local, that knew the market, that understood the Bay Area well. And so I think a combination of those two things. And if there was a third factor involved, it was just simply the fact that the experience that I'd had around operating and running 12 consecutive Super Bowls at the time, and understood and had great relationships with the NFL and inside the NFL was another advantage, I think.
Tipping Point CEO and founder Dan Lurie, who is the chairman of the group, who kind of sought you out as well, refers to this one as a legacy event, a lot of reward, but obviously a lot of risk too. Not asking you what could go wrong, because I'm sure you wake up every day talking about that. But
Yeah.
Do you understand? How do you embrace the magnitude of the event?
Well, I think on a couple levels. From the very beginning, Daniel was clear that this Super Bowl would be the most philanthropic Super Bowl, the most giving Super Bowl ever, and would have a philanthropic soul to it. And so my job is to execute on that vision, and so far we've been able to do just that. And I think it's been a real eye-opener for not just the companies who've sponsored us and stepped forward to sponsoring our host committee effort, but also the NFL and the region. You know, that this city, this region can really step up and do a lot for the nonprofit community, for those that are not as fortunate. And, you know, we've been able to raise over $8 million through the 50 Fund, which is our 501c3 philanthropic arm. On Giving Tuesday, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, we announced that we have donated $5 million, $5.2 million to be exact, to high-performing nonprofits here in the Bay Area. You can go to our website, which is impact.50fund.org, and you can see every single nonprofit and the amount of money that they received as part of the grant-making process from the 50 Fund. So it's one thing to say you're going to be the most giving. It's another thing to make sure it's transparent, that there's a strategy behind it, and you're actually delivering the money to the people who need it most. And so the magnitude of this event has allowed us to do that. Companies have stepped up to sponsor us, largely because it's Super Bowl 50 and they recognize the marketing opportunity that comes with that, but also the fact that, you know, the money that we're raising, a percentage of it goes to the charitable arm, to the 50 Fund, is a game changer. And it's really, I think, set a positive trend for future major events. And, you know, that's my goal, Rick, with this thing, is we want to set some bars and some standards that not only apply to future Super Bowls, but they apply to future global events in general.
Well, and that's the template we'll talk about in a minute. But 6 months before you came on, the host committee announced its structure and talked about a $30 million pledge commitment from companies like Apple and Boston Consulting and Gap and Google and Intel and Seagate and Yahoo, and you're there to kind of help implement. Some would say the heavy lifting's been done, but you know that's not the case. Is it easier now to raise the dollars that are remaining, knowing that everybody sees what the vision is on a countdown clock, or is it still really difficult?
You know, I would say it's moved in phases. You know, when you're absolutely right. When I took over the job as CEO, the bid committee had done a great job of raising corporate interest. There were 10 companies, I think you mentioned almost all of them, that had pledged financial support. My job, Rick, was to go in and talk to the CEOs of all those companies after we won the bid and make sure they didn't have amnesia. And they were actually going to sign up. They were actually going to sign the contracts and move forward, and they did. All 10.
By the way, the pledge collector in nonprofits always has the worst job in the world, right?
Yeah. Well, you would think it would be an easy job, but it is a hard job. And you know, fundraising is never an easy thing for an event like the Super Bowl, because companies think that the NFL is paying for everything. And in fact, that's not the case. The host committee is responsible for paying the lion's share of the operating costs of the Super Bowl, for paying 100% of many of the costs, and for delivering a huge fan village, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second. Super Bowl City, our free to the public 9-day fan village, honoring Super Bowl 50 coming to the Bay Area. So those are big ticket items that the host committee has to pay for, and we're a privately financed Super Bowl, unlike Miami or New Orleans and other host committees that get a grant from the state, either from a tourism or a sports budget. I inherited exactly zero from the state of California, so we had to raise every dollar through corporate commitments, and we had some great success. We've raised over $50 million from corporate partnerships in the form of cash and VIK, and we're very proud of that. And to answer your question directly, as we get closer, we brought in some new partners recently that have stepped up and said, wow, okay, how do I get involved in this and how do I support it? The large sponsors, our founding legacy sponsors that are, a couple $1 million or more of commitment, those are pretty much done because they recognized early on that the marketing and having lead time to promote their association with us was important. Now I think it's more companies that are looking to get on board with either Super Bowl week and assets to help them be part of the Super Bowl celebration, or contributing to our 50 Fund, contributing to our nonprofit.
A private organization in a group of political ego fests, although you keep your eye on the prize. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll say it, they don't pay Keith Bruce enough. Keith Bruce, CEO of the Super Bowl 50 group. He didn't ask me to say that. I'm not getting him in trouble, but I just know the task there. Hey, so let's talk about a couple more things, including what you mentioned, the Fest, free public celebrations, NFL experience, the new state-of-the-art Levi's Stadium, the infrastructure, the physical pieces of this. Comment on that.
So that's a big thing that we're very excited about. Typical Super Bowls of the past, not that there's anything typical about a Super Bowl, but past Super Bowl celebrations have had NFL experience and some kind of fan village kind of connected right next to each other, usually at the host city's convention center. We will have NFL experience at Moscone Center, which is our fantastic facility in downtown San Francisco. But we broke the mold with creating Super Bowl City. Super Bowl City will be a 9-day, free-to-the-public fan village on the San Francisco waterfront, one of the most iconic visuals in all of San Francisco, with the Bay Bridge and the Ferry Building as backdrops. We'll be right on the water there at Stu Beerman Park, Justin Herman Plaza, and the bottom of Market Street. So we will have a pretty significant footprint for people to come and celebrate the fact that the Bay Area is hosting Super Bowl 50. So everything that's great about the Bay Area will be on display. Our technology, we'll have a lot of our technology sponsors creating innovative exhibits that display their technology. Our food and our wine, Sonoma County will have a wine pavilion as our exclusive wine partner and provider at Super Bowl City. We'll have a lot of great culinary treats for people to enjoy. Our thriving art community will be on display. And, of course, our celebration of football and everything great about the game of the NFL and the 49ers and the Raiders' success in past Super Bowls. So you'll see all of that brought to life at Super Bowl City. We did it a little bigger and a little better, Rick, for a couple of reasons. You know, I mentioned earlier, the Bay Area has not hosted a Super Bowl in 30 years. So we wanted to do it big, and we wanted to do it right in Bay Area style. We open on that first Saturday, the weekend before Super Bowl, which is very atypical. No fan villages open before, say, the Wednesday of Super Bowl. But we wanted the Bay Area residents to be able to enjoy Super Bowl City before the rest of the world invades the Bay Area, later in the week. So that opening locals weekend for Super Bowl City will be important. Is it more expensive to do it that way? Is it operationally more demanding? Yes and yes, but we just felt it was the right thing to do for the Bay Area to let them enjoy this as well and be part of the celebration. So we're really excited about it. The NFL is too. They're thrilled with what we're doing, and it'll definitely be the place to be during that week.
And you listen to Keith Bruce, and I've known him for a long time. You can hear the nuance of his answers because he talked about the Raiders and Niners' past success, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about the possibility of a Super Bowl match this year, but that's another conversation for another day. Final couple of questions. Super Bowl committee delivered the bid package to NFL owners in early May of 2013, and the neat thing was they did it on Apple iPad minis, and 2 weeks later you get the bid. It set the tone for the game being really a technology game. Talk a little bit about the technology aspect of all this, Levi's Stadium, and how it all comes into play.
Yeah, that's another big part of our promise at the bid was one was the philanthropic angle that I described earlier, and the second was the technology angle, that our goal was to be the most shared Super Bowl ever, given that we're the home of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. It was to be the most technologically advanced Super Bowl ever, given what we have at Levi's Stadium and the huge head start advantage we have with that stadium, but also with our partners. Rick, the first round of supporters of the host committee and the first people to sign contracts and agreements with us were from the tech community. It was Apple, it was Intel, it was Google, it was Yahoo, it was Seagate. And these companies recognized from the very beginning, this was going to be a showcase for Silicon Valley, that it was a great opportunity for them to support our efforts and make the Bay Area shine. So as a result, at Super Bowl City, you're going to see some of that amazing technology on display from companies like SAP and Intel and Google. And you're going to, feel and touch, the technology at Levi's Stadium. That app is a state-of-the-art app that allows people to order food and beverages and have them delivered directly to your seat. No Super Bowl's ever had that kind of technology before. And so you're going to be able to do things inside the stadium through your phone and through your app that have not been done before. At Super Bowl City, we'll have an app. You can download it now. It's called Road to 50. We're the first host committee to create an app that's freestanding that will promote everything happening here in the Bay Area. We promoted our 50 tour. You mentioned the 49ers and Raiders. 8 Lombardi trophies between the two of them. We took those on a 28-market tour this fall. And so our app was a great way for people to follow the tour and get information about who was going to be there and what was going to be happening. But the app will also be a great way for people to navigate Super Bowl City and the downtown experience in San Francisco. And then you can toggle over to the Super Bowl 50 app to, if you're a lucky enough guy to have a person to have a ticket to the game, then you can use the Game Day app. So that technology will really be game-changing. It will set a new tone for future Super Bowls, and that's exactly what we wanted to do with Super Bowl 50. We wanted to make it about a celebration of the evolution of the game, the past 49 Super Bowls, but really set the tone for the Super Bowls of the future and raise the bar dramatically in a number of areas. But technology is one that we feel we're the Bay Area. It's a perfect place for us to do that and show it off. And fortunately, we've got a great community of tech partners and a great stadium to be able to do that.
Great segue. We ought to take this on the road. It's seamless, man. You're leading me into my last and final question. You wake up the morning of February 7th, and the Super Bowl happened the evening before, and you're looking at what kind of history and legacy you created, not just for future Super Bowls, but future global mega events, and you think what? What's the prediction? How does Keith Bruce feel the morning after the game?
Well, I hope I'm standing, number one. Number two, I hope I feel great, and I think we will. I mean, you never know. There's always so many things that are predictable, but there are also things that are unpredictable. We know what we can control, and I think that as long as I can wake up on that Monday or that Tuesday after Super Bowl and know that we did as good a job as we did controlling the things that we can control. We were the most giving Super Bowl ever. We raised that kind of money for charity. We were the most shared Super Bowl. The social data will be there, and we'll know how many social media impressions the game and the week received, and all the metrics that we're after. We want to hit those numbers. We want to hit those goals and deliver on it. And that's the quantitative piece. The qualitative piece is just the experience. Did people have a great time? Did the Bay Area shine? Hopefully we catch a break with El Nino and it doesn't rain every day. but we know we can't control that, but we'll be ready for it if it does rain. So those are the things. The qualitative experience, I just hope everyone enjoys it so much that the Bay Area is seen as a place that should have a Super Bowl every 5 or 6 years. I mean, that's ultimately the end game is we do a great job with this one, and we convince the NFL owners and all of the stakeholders of the NFL that the Bay Area is a great place to host a Super Bowl.
And Keith Bruce, the committee is in good hands. The only correction, I think you're wrong. You ain't getting up Monday morning. You're going to sleep 24 hours. You're getting up Tuesday morning that weekend, and you deserve it. So, yeah. Keith Bruce, CEO, Super Bowl host committee. Keith, thank you very much. We'll do it again.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Keeping Score. I'm Rick Horrow. The producer of the show is Alex Cohen. Audio producer Adam Wiesen. Technical assistance provided by Jamie Weber, Tanner Simpkins, and Carlos Waddick. The executive editor of Reuters Digital, Dan Colarusso.